Good day, grade 11s, and welcome to our Term 3 summary. So this is a summary of all modules that you would have covered within Term 3. So I'm not going to go through and explain everything slide by slide, but we're really just going to revise over what we need to know, what's important, some of the most important things, in fact, that came up over these modules. So module 1.4 was software. And we were talking about software. We looked at things like multimedia software, compatibility issues, software bugs, etc. So let's go through. And as I go through, I'm going to make mention of certain things that I know has come up before and things that are quite important to understand and take note of. Right. So being able to identify the different operating systems is important. Okay. If you get these pictures, I know this is even in grade 12. They had it last year in the 2024 final, where they had a picture like this and you had to identify not only the operating system, but you needed to give us the difference between the operating systems. So for example, Windows and Linux, one you pay for, the other one is free. One, you cannot edit the code, whereas Linux you can. Okay, so please know that. This is also very important, the functions of the operating system. This comes up every single time in different formats, in different sort of ways, but it still rears its head. And then being able to understand, how software is installed and how hardware is installed. Please remember plug and play. I mean, this was grade 10, and what hot swappable is as well. These things, and again, remember now we're moving on to scenarios. So just understanding what it means is one thing, but being able to apply it in a scenario, that's usually where it gets a little more tricky. All right, then device drivers. By now we know what a device driver is. So again, think of device driver and think of a scenario to go with that. All right, for you lot that like to use ChatGPT, so use it here. Take something like this, pop it into ChatGPT and say, I want to learn, more about a device driver. Can you create a scenario for me and give me a 2-mark question that can be asked on a scenario dealing with a device driver? Okay, those things help. That's proper use of ChatGPT. Okay, so we move on. Then we're dealing with the basic or minimum system requirements and the recommended system requirements for software to be installed. Now, please remember, the whole idea with this was that you're looking at the software itself, so the game that you might have, and you're looking at what hardware does it need in order to function properly. I mean, just think of Fortnite, for example. Yes, it's free, you can download it, but does it need certain hardware to run properly? Yes, it does. So please know the difference between your minimum and recommended requirements. All right. When you're installing a piece of software, you can do a full installation, which means everything is installed onto the hard drive. You don't really need anything else from there. Whereas a custom one, you can indicate what you would like to install on the hard drive from that particular software package. Then multimedia software, we're dealing with software that can deal with different forms of media. So, dealing with text and sound and images, all this type of thing. One of the most popular ways to create multimedia is by using HTML5. And if I asked you for a piece of software that was multimedia software, well, VLC Media Player would be one, right? Can it open video? Can it open audio? Is that many different types of media? Is it more than one? Yes. Okay, so there they just mentioned to us new types of multimedia products have come out, like having your interactive textbooks where now you've got links to various other things in the textbook. You're going to click on it, you might get audio, you might get a video, all those type of things. Then it went on to communication software. Now again, just understand the definition here. It's used to make electronic communications simple, effective, and efficient. They like to ask you questions around Skype, using email, maybe using WhatsApp as well. Okay, so these are important things that come up. This is something to take note of again. All right, then Because you're dealing with troubleshooting as well, you might get scenarios around compatibility, and you just need to go through the reasons for compatibility issues. I mean, we just spoke about software and hardware. The hardware might not be compatible with the software, right? Go through these slides dealing with the various reasons for compatibility issues. They give us a few solutions as well. Go through that, understand that, right? Please, this is very, very important. Okay. One of the big reasons that we have compatibility issues is simply because things are not standardized. If we're all using a whole lot of different types of software and we're wanting to send documents and things to one another, you're going to have compatibility issues. This is why when you go into the workplace, you'll see they're all using the same type of computer, the same software, so that the same type of documents and files are sent around and there's no issue when you need to send it, open it, save it, print it, anything like that. Then we have software bugs. Now let's just understand what a bug is. It's an error in the program, and this is caused not by you, but by the programmer, right, when it was actually put together. So this is why they do a lot of testing. They'll do like those beta tests. You'll have error reporting, and you need to keep your software up to date so that if they pick up a bug or a fix that they need to send out, they can do that in the next update. And that's why we deal with updating our software. It's the process of getting the latest bug fixes. So do you see, it was important to know what a bug was. Now the process of getting the latest bug fixes or additional features is what's known as an update. And this is why Windows looks for updates, Office looks for updates, gee whiz, even WhatsApp looks for updates. Now, there is something else called a service pack. And when we went through this module, we spoke about the difference between the service pack and the update. So again, please go through that. Also know the difference between online and offline software, right? Now, there's a lot of terms that start coming up here. Online software, cloud computing, web applications. It's software that runs on servers on the internet. Okay? With the advantages and disadvantages, you know, I usually tell you know at least 2. You can go for 3, but know at least 2 advantages and disadvantages. Right. Then they give us some examples here. We've got Google Docs, free software, web-based, which means we need to be able to access the internet in order to use it. And you can go back to your advantages and disadvantages and just think logically as to what that would be. We've got our blogs and our web blogs. This is something that does come up, not just knowing what a blog is, but also some good practices. So they could use this, and again, take this, use a scenario. Say you're going to be setting up a blog. What sort of good practices should you be implementing in order to really get people interested and to get people, coming to your site? And again, they go into some advantages and disadvantages. And you can just look at 2 of these as well. Right? Take the easiest to remember. We also have standalone or desktop apps. So just know what this is. A standalone or desktop app runs on a computer without any need to interact with any other software. So know an example. Please, when that piece of software is installed, if we have Microsoft Word installed on our computer, that's a piece of standalone software. It doesn't need anything else to function. Right? We've also got web and cloud-based applications, and there they show us with our web-based applications, it's sitting on a server somewhere else. I'm going to access it via my browser. Very important. Very important. Okay. There they tell us that it runs on a remote server. That's exactly what I said now. And then our cloud-based applications, these are more advanced than our web-based apps. So you've got your web-based app. The one that's more advanced is now where we're dealing with cloud-based applications. Okay. They need a web browser to run, but are not totally reliant on the web browser to function. Okay, so please know that there I've put just the differences between a cloud app and a web app. And then we went on to software that helps physically challenged users. Now, the whole idea is to help them to be able to do what we do and what we take for granted with doing with the PC. Okay, so we can use the ease of access settings, magnification, text to speech, making the mouse cursor larger. There are a number of these, but please, here's Mr. Hambury's tip. You need to read the scenario and apply the setting that fits with the scenario. Okay, so you're not going to use sticky keys for someone who's blind. Right? You're not going to turn up the volume for someone who's deaf. This is all I'm saying. Okay? Right. There we go. We can go into those settings, know where to go to. Please, people keep getting this wrong. Like, go watch a video or something. Okay? Go check out what it means for someone to be blind or to be deaf or to be hearing impaired or to be visually impaired. Okay? Just go and do it. Okay? It sounds like, Mr. Hambury, what are you talking about? Yeah, wait until you get it wrong. Then we'll have a different conversation. So, here we go. Here's one. Eye and head tracking applications in gaming. Do you think it's going to help this user? Right? Yes, it will. What about voice recognition software? It's an alternative to typing on the keyboard. Okay? That's what we can use as well. Lovely tool. Again, all these things have their own advantages and disadvantages. You don't have to know any of them, but just think logically around this as well. We've got a screen reader as well. This is software that allows blind or visually, you see there, blind or visually impaired users to read the text. Now, the blind person is not going to be reading the text with their eyes. They're going to listen to what is being said. Okay, it is reading what is off or what is on the screen. Okay. And then we know our magnification tool. Again, are you going to use this with a blind person? No. Are you going to use it with a visually impaired individual? Yes. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Then we went on to 1.5. 1.5 did touch on a few of the same things, like the system requirements. So just went into some more detail. Folks, here's my tip. Know this. For your finals, know and understand what you are seeing on the screen here. The specs of the PC, understanding all these items here, what it means, please go and study that. Right, then our system requirements, again, minimum and recommended, so I'm not going to worry too much with that. We've done that already. We've looked at all of this. We've spoken a little bit about installing software. Now, I did see a question on this. Okay, I've seen a few before, and they ask you, what are the different ways, or they'll ask you to mention 2 ways in which you can install the software. Now, we know you can download it. You can use a flash drive. You can use a CD. There might be other means. Maybe you are getting it off somebody else's external hard drive, whatever the case may be. But those are the different ways. And then you can see there with the online downloads, that can be a website, it can be the App Store, anything like that. Okay. They give us the steps when installing software as well. So that license agreement, what is the license agreement? This is you agreeing to how you are going to use the software, right? As per the company's instructions. So if the company says you can only use it on one PC and you click next, you are agreeing to that. The product key verifies that you are the owner, that only you can use it, right? Okay, so you don't have to know all those steps, but just understand that. Here was another question. How do we uninstall software? Folks, I've seen people say, you just go to the desktop and you delete the icon there. No, no, that's a shortcut. Are you deleting the program? No, you are deleting a shortcut to the program. The only way to uninstall software is to actually go to Control Panel and go and say, you've got to click on that there, uninstall a program, and then select your particular program and then uninstall it. That'll remove all the files associated with that particular program. Right, then managing files. Talk about finding files in Windows. Most of us know this by now. These are just things we are revising on. Searching through Windows as well, like most of you do that. Instead of just clicking on Word, you go and search for Word. But anyway, and then they mention just some other ways to manage files, looking at the file extensions, sorting things by that. They do also mention, and this is a question. This is a question here. You try to open a file and it keeps giving you an error because it doesn't know what to open with. If that extension is messed with, we know how important an extension is, right? So the extension tells Windows what program to open that file with. If it doesn't open with the one, you can always try another one that's installed on your computer. Okay? You can also convert it to another format. Okay, that's where you go, file, save as, and then change the type. So they just go through a number of other ways. We know these screens, the properties, the metadata. I just want to touch on this here. Can you see here? Properties and metadata. So if they ask you for the metadata, you go into the properties. If they ask you for the properties, you go into the properties. Right? Just understand what they are asking of you. That's what you need to know. Okay, and then just there's our attributes, and then this one, dealing with hardware failure. Now, what does that mean? That means the hardware has failed. In other words, the hardware is not working. The hardware could be broken. The hardware could be damaged. But the hardware is not working as it should anymore. And this is where you get a lot of scenarios. For example, and I know you've done this, okay? Especially when the ports are behind the TV and you need to plug something in and you're not taking note and you're not even looking and you're just pressing and you're pressing this USB. You're going to break something. But anyway, so forcing connectors into wrong slots, that's a problem. Okay? Yeah, spilling liquids on equipment. Hopefully that's not you. Not protecting against power surges and lightning strikes. I know you think it's a joke to have like a surge protector power plug and things, but when, especially with Eskom switching everything off and back on and things like that, this is a reality. And then, dropping equipment. I mean, just this morning at the time of this recording, you see learners taking their bags and they've got a Chromebook or a laptop or something in there and they just swing it, around like you usually do. You pick it up from the ground, you swing it and you put it in your back and you miss and the bag goes flying and the Chromebook or laptop is in there and gets damaged. Okay. Also, not ensuring proper cooling of your computer. Please remember, this builds up heat. It builds up heat, people, so it needs to be kept cool. All right, and then they just mention your most hardware occurs with peripherals and storage devices. You always want to keep spares on hand if a peripheral is critical, right? Loss of data, you want to make sure there is proper backup policy. And let's just touch on this quickly so that we understand what a peripheral is. It's a device that connects to the computer system to add functionality to it. So we add a microphone to add the functionality, speakers, a projector, a mouse, all of these things to add functionality. Right, and the next module was the online lifestyle. So this one was pretty simple. A lot of questions can come from this. This is dealing with the internet. So you're looking at the difference between your fixed internet access, like your fiber, and your mobile, which is, like your LTE and 3G and 4G and that. These are two terms that are going to come up very often in scenarios. Fiber to the home, this means there's a fiber cable that's running straight into your home, and then there's fiber to the business. Now, obviously, the speed you're going to get at home and the speed people get on a business line is very different, with very different priorities on that line as well. And there they just mentioned to us about our mobile internet access. Please know the difference between the two. Know the difference between fixed and mobile. And then with mobile, our Wi-Fi and hotspot. Understand these things. Like I said, you pop it into ChatGPT, ask it to generate a scenario for you. It will help. WiMAX, 3G, 4G, these days it's 5G as well. So understand what that means, right? As we're going from 3G, 4G, 5G, the speed is much higher, right? And then they give us just a few examples of the difference when it comes to these various networks. We've got our satellite internet. Know what that is. Know how that works as well. You can see what do we need. In order to get a connection to the satellite, we need a dish. So wherever we are, we need a dish. And that's why when we look at satellite internet and we think of, for example, Starlink, like I've mentioned before, you still need a dish that needs to be able to link up with the satellite and then to whichever provider is out there. All right. They mention also about browsers and email clients on mobile devices. Guys, you know most of the stuff. You work with this every day. We look at digital communications, and some of it is going to focus on social networking sites. So don't be surprised if you get a scenario with social media questions in it. Okay, they're not going to be asking you for your username and your password, right? But how do you use it to attract business to your particular company? How do you get the word out? In fact, here's one. How can social media be used in an emergency situation to get the word out about something that has just taken place? Okay, that's a typical one. So advantages, disadvantages, you can go through that. The best practices is probably the most important bit with this. Then VoIP. Know what VoIP is? Our voice over internet protocol. So anything where voice and video are moved over the internet, that is VoIP. That is VoIP. Any of those. If you have any other examples, you can use it, right? As long as we also understand what it is. So yeah, make it something that everyone knows. And again, they're going to have advantages and disadvantages. We know we're going to go through at least 2 of them. Okay. Do you see this best practices keep coming up, right? It keeps coming up, which means what? You're going to need to know these things. Okay. Again, take this, and I'll maybe make a video on this, putting it into different resources to help you to generate, flashcards, quizzes, things like that. You can also use the gizmo.ai platform that I have, to help you with flashcards as well. So there's some pros and cons of VoIP, video conferencing. This was a big one that I found in 2 or 3 papers where they used the scenario of having a video conference and then everything that goes with it. So are we going to use the internet? Yes. Will there be questions on the internet then? Yes. What about what you need for a video conference? The screens, the webcams, the microphones, all of those type of things. This is what can come up in a massive scenario if they use video conferencing, because everything will go into that. Okay, you can go through again advantages, disadvantages, best practices. Folks, you don't have to know every single thing, but you need to understand how all of this works and know at least 2 of these best practices, advantages and disadvantages. Now, we spoke earlier about blogs, what a blog is. These days, we also have vlogs, right? Instead of it just being on the internet and just being text, we now have video going with that as well. And there's so many vloggers out there as well. So I'm sure most of you know about that. Again, good practices, whether it's for a blog or vlog. You want to be interesting. You want to watch trends. You want to collaborate with others. You need to practice talking to the camera. You need to have interesting transitions, just not too many transitions. Create appealing introductions and endings. These are just all the different good practices that they have. And with that, we move on to the next one, which was podcasts. Now, here also we've got a podcast and a vodcast. Your podcast started with just it being completely audio only, and then it moved on to being video as well. So again, good practices, the format, the length, the content, the quality production. This is why when you tick all these boxes, you end up with a podcast like the Joe Rogan one, okay, which is the most popular one around. This actually falls under the vodcast, okay, because it's not just sound, but it's including video as well. All right. Then they mentioned about chat rooms. Doesn't come up too much, but just understand what that is. I wouldn't worry too much with the advantages and disadvantages, but you can go through that. The RSS feed as well. Understand that they don't ask too much about the advantages and disadvantages, but it is something that does come up from time to time as well. Our FTP, our file transfer protocol. This does come up every now and then. So know this. This is the protocol or rules used for fast, easy transfer of files between remote computers that have an internet connection. So your Google Drive, your OneDrive, your Dropbox, all examples there. The difference between downloading and streaming, please look at the difference. Again, they can give you a scenario on that, so do take the time to go and check that out. Most of you know this as well, especially for those who do stream or want to connect to sites, especially when they want to watch sport and then they want to go through a VPN. What does it do? It connects remote users to a private internal network using the internet. Okay? Some people use VPNs for Netflix in order to get to Netflix US as well. Okay. So go through that. Make sure you understand what the VPN is. The difference also between the internet and the intranet. This is something that, again, comes up very often, especially for finals. So understand that definition as well. I hope this is all clear. The term, the Internet of Things, a lot can come up under that as well. So please look through that. Your smart homes as well. Why your home would be called a smart home. What features must it have in order to be called and in order to fall under the umbrella of being a smart home. Right? Advantages and disadvantages can definitely be asked on this. They can throw in biometrics. They can throw in, security issues, things like that. Then our online services as well, things like our internet banking, why we would use it, how we can stay safe. There we go, the advantages, disadvantages, doing shopping and reservations. Folks, these things don't come up as just normal questions. They usually come up under scenarios. Okay, so I'll give you a scenario and then you are expected to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly about these items. Okay, then protecting yourself online, big one that comes up often. Cyberbullying, cyberstalking, obviously none of us do that. None of us do that. We see the repercussions of this in society, so we are all decent, moral people here who love one another. Okay, so cyberbullying, cyberstalking, know the difference there as well. Malware, know the term, know the different examples or different types of malware. How is it detected? How do we know that our device might have some malware on it? Right? How do we get rid of it? We know our antivirus software is the main way in which we can keep ourselves safe from this. Okay, also firewall software. You need to know that, what a firewall is, what a firewall does. And all this is about staying safe online. So you can imagine, we've just spoken about internet banking, e-commerce as well, right? You don't want to just give out PINs and all of this type of thing. This is why banks have multiple levels of authentication. They want to check with a username, with a password, with a PIN, with an SMS notification, all those things in order to keep you safe when you are moving funds around online. And I know a lot of us like buying online, but you just need to look at how to stay safe. Those are questions that do tend to come up every now and then. All right. And then I think the last section was workplace and employment practice. So office automation. This is just the centralizing and automating of all tasks in the office. So a lot of people these days have either virtual offices or mobile offices. I mean, I'm sure that many of your parents come home and they sit with a laptop, internet access, and there they've got a mobile office, right? A virtual office is where you have a set of services that you rent. Why? To reduce expenses. Okay, you can outsource this as well, right? Companies there, they say, are not limited to a local pool of workers. Think about this. Folks in China and other places there on the other side of the world are employing people from around the world to teach English. They are outsourcing that. Okay. I have included, and you can go and pause the video here, taking some screenshots of various questions. You can use this as a reference for yourself. So yeah, you can go and pause the video, check these questions, test yourself on this. There are 3 slides worth of questions here as well. Go through these, get yourself familiar with this. It is going to help you. Okay, I don't just put this stuff here by accident. It's here to help. And then the last module for the term was 7.2, processing data. And here they were really just talking about a few things with regards to information, and they're talking about information management skills. There's nothing much that really comes up here. We just need to understand the advantages of the software that we have today. What does it allow us to do? Can we work with large amounts of data? Yes. Can we process it quickly? Yes, we can. Okay. We can export that data somewhere else. And just understand what that means. It means sending or transferring data from one format to another. So taking your database, saving it as a different source, or sending that database so that it's inside the spreadsheet. Okay, and vice versa. Right? If we are importing, what are we doing? We are fetching or bringing in a copy of the data or contents from another file format. Okay, copy and paste. We know that. We know that. What we should know by now is how to export from Access, and this you have to go and actually do yourself. So go and have a look at that, go through that process, familiarize yourself with that. Importing, same story, guys. You are going to have to go and do that. Okay. And then tips, tools, and techniques to process data. So they tell us you want to be smart. You want to know the features of your program so you can use it in the best way possible. Figure out the most efficient way to complete the task, especially with those of you who've been doing PATs, right? Here they just mentioned sorting as a problem-solving tool. Now, where can we sort? Can we sort in Word? Yes, we can. Can we sort in our spreadsheets? Yes. Can we sort in databases? Yes. So it helps us to get the records that we actually want to work with. Okay. Then they just go through a few things here with Excel, your database as well, what it's useful for. Folks, there's really not much that gets asked from this module, but go through it. It'll just give you a nice reminder of what you have done in your prac work actually. And that's it for term 3. That is the revision of everything you should have covered theory-wise in term 3. And don't forget, you can go to the gizmo.ai platform, go and check for the Mr. Hambury deck. And there you can see there are a number of cards put into the different categories, so that you can go in there, check the flashcards, you can generate a quiz based on that, test yourself, and I'm going to be updating that according to a couple of final papers to make sure you have everything you need. So grade 11s, thank you very much. That's our term 3 modules. God bless and all the best for the exams.